Hey, what's up, Street Talks? Eric Kim from the Eric Kim Street Photography Blog. We have a very special guest today behind this laughing lady of the Masters.
Hello.
Hello!
Happy holidays, happy new year.
And I wanted to do this video as an introduction to Cindy, the CEO of Haptic. So first and foremost, for people on the interwebs who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
I am actually Eric's alter ego.
Uh-huh.
No, I am Eric's partner, longtime best friend, and creative collaborator. I am a PhD candidate working on my dissertation, but alongside that, I love to create and experiment. So thank you for all of your support over these years for me to be able to continue to experiment and work with Eric to create.
So what have you created with Haptic and why did you create Haptic?
So two reasons. Like the first part is just to preface is that Haptic is so much a part of who I am and who Eric and I are in terms of our artistic and creative curiosities. So when we first conceptualized the idea, in the backstory is that I was preparing for my PhD exams and I was like very much in my head. I studied history of the book, history of Vietnamese libraries and French colonialism, and my brain was so exhausted and existed in this like immaterial metaphysical world of thoughts and ideas and big concepts, and I felt exhausted from being in my head, and I missed working with my hands and using the knowledge that I knew from book publishing, from art, from book creation, from printing, from hand lino cut printing and oil-based printing, and I missed that. So the first thing we created was also like so much a curiosity. There are two first things we created. The first thing was the Henri strap, and then the second thing was street notes. So the Henri strap was a product of, we both went to Vietnam about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm Vietnamese American. I study Vietnamese history, and Vietnam holds an important, deep part of who I am, my culture, my identity, but also I have so much to learn, and I'm so curious about Vietnam, so that's motivated my passions to go to Vietnam. So we traveled to Vietnam. We were both studying. Eric was studying Vietnamese. I was doing historical research and developing more of my Vietnamese as well. And we were in Saigon, and Saigon is this wonderful multi-layered place, and there's just so much aspects about it, from like youth culture to, of course, like the very tumultuous history with the war, but also Saigon and South Vietnam also has this like dynamic diversity, multiple languages, cultures, identity. Like it just has a very big spirit about it. And post-war, you have this spirit of the youthful entrepreneurialism. And we met Lan and Nguyen, who are models, singers, songwriters, and leather makers. And we were just like hanging out with them. And it was like a friend of a photographer. We were just hanging out, having tea or alcohol. I don't remember, tea or beer, one of the things. And Eric's like, Len, you're a leather maker. Do you know how to make straps and like camera straps? Because Eric being Eric, super, always thinking outside the box and creating. And Len's like, I don't know. So like that was 6 years ago. So essentially, she specialized in making bags, wallets, and was extremely talented. And we were like, hey, it's like, because like you're making the straps for for bags, and they were very beautiful anyway. So let's try to develop a product together. So that was a 5-year relationship of us drawing up, designing, testing out, prototyping leather straps. So they're all handmade from Saigon. Sourced directly through Lan and Nguyen, and we've just had so much kind of fun experimenting and creating and seeing it develop out. And the best part about working with Lana and Nguyen is that we know we have they're our friends, so it's a close relationship. So we believe in like supporting them and supporting their creativity and their talent, and it's just been a really fun creative collaboration.
So why did you call it Haptic?
Oh, okay. So Haptic, the name Haptic came from kind of what I was getting at earlier, which is this like, I was existing in this like intellectual world of like ideas and thoughts, and then the irony is I was working on like history of the book, which is all about materiality, like the smell, the touch of paper, the weight of paper and books and all that. And I was just like thinking about our digital world today. I also do a lot of digital humanities, so I spend a lot of time in front of the screens like a lot of us. And then I'm just like, I touch is so important, and haptic needs touch.
So can you show us some of the Haptic press books you've published, and perhaps what kind of haptic feedback or sensation you get from the books?
Yeah, so haptic means touch. It also means like perception or feel, and I thought that was a really beautiful way of thinking about creative products, but also the thing, like the book itself, but also as artists and photographers, what you create, you want to emotionally touch somebody, and maybe it also emotionally touches you. So I love that idea of bringing it back into the real world. So like the first book we created together, Eric and I wrote, Eric did the writing, I did the heavy editing and layout and design, is Street Notes. We made this right after we got married. So we're actually, we're in my family's house. You can see, no, not too much, Eric.
Not too much,
so
okay.
My mom's house. This is actually my childhood home. You can see my fuzzy slippers and holiday stuff, and
I love the fuzzy slippers.
our wedding photos in the back here too. So this is the behind the scenes of the Haptic Atelier. So getting back to, so we made Street Notes right after we got married. So this was our first kind of creative collaborative project together as husband and wife, which was really sweet. So we made this book, and the idea we had for a while, but we wanted to make a workshop in your pocket. Like Eric loves to educate, to teach, but not everyone can have access to those workshops because of location and price, and just even like it's difficult for Eric to be everywhere at once and to educate. So we wanted to create education material. So Haptic, this is 4th edition we're working on.
4th edition?
5th already. So it like as we created this, even like we print this locally and just down the street in California. So even like you can see the textures and fibers of the paper. It's very intentional. We designed the size to be like to fit in your pocket. We created these reflection pages, and they have the different types of street photography challenges or assignments of what like some of Eric's workshops were based. Or this was based off of some of Eric's workshop assignments. And for me, I don't know about you, but I'm a big like reflection person. I'm always like, okay, what did I learn? Why did I learn? What am I going to do differently? I'm about self-growth. So then I would be like, okay, I did this assignment, but now what? So I wanted to create this reflections page of like lessons learned, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, so that you can continue to grow and develop as photography artists. And so this, like, I love that, as we do this behind the scenes video, you'll notice that it's, again, like Haptic is so much a product of who we are. We're, like, in our childhood home, we print down locally down the street. And it's evolved. Like, we've had Haptic now for what, like
3 years?
3 years? It's coming up on 3 years, yeah, now. And wait, so did you want to hear about how it's evolved? Or
yeah, talk about the evolution.
So in we have like different collections. So Haptic Press, which is, I've used a lot of my knowledge on history of the book and publishing, and we created Street Notes, which was we've had a lot of feedback from others, and it's been really, we've also pretty much donated almost, for every book that we sell, we've donated at least another book.
It's almost
to
like
a
Tom's.
School. Yeah, I mean, we don't really advertise that, but again, if you're a school or are working with any at needs community, like contact me at hapticindustries.com. We really, really believe in helping out those in need and inspiring them with photography, with art, with creation as much as possible. So contact me, see what we can work out. So we've gifted a lot. We've also did so the next book was photo journal, and this was created. So these all have a story. So we wrote this. We finalized this. We were in Hanoi. We were writing this, and then we printed it here. But we finished it in Tranquil Cafe in Hanoi. And I think maybe we finished it after yoga somewhere, and then we got mosquito bites.
Do we have
everywhere.
the cacao bliss smoothie?
Oh yeah. So they all have a story about them. So we did photo journal, and it's even the ideas behind it. It's very much introspection, reflection. These photos taken in Hanoi about rules to unlearn and what's important about your photography. How is it adding or removing stress? So this was a very meditative point in me and Eric's life as we were in Hanoi. We were by ourselves. This was towards the end of 2016 after a certain tumultuous election. And we were just, thinking a lot about our identity as Asian Americans, Vietnamese American, Korean American, photographers, artists, being in Vietnam, what it meant, thinking about our impact and our legacy. So this is very much a product of that. And again, it's very haptic. We chose this paper, of which it looks different in all the different lights. And this is our second edition. We're working on printing our third edition too. So from that we created film notes, which I still remember. I think we launched in March 20th, 2017 or something, and that was really exciting because our family was about to go camping. We're we'll just launch it and see what happens. We come home from camping and there were 200 orders for film notes from all over the world, and that was so empowering because it made just to imagine that 200 people around the world could learn from film notes and wanted film notes, and we put so much work into it, but honestly we had no idea how it was going to go. So the fact that there was just all these people who were supporting us but also believed in what we were doing and wanted this learning material, that was really powerful. So weekly after camp, we came home, packaged it up on this table, shipped everything out from to New Zealand, to Argentina, we've shipped to all over the world, and that was it was really special. So film notes is very much, I've shot with film, Eric shoots film obviously, and I think one thing is that film tells such a story, and we really love that we can continue to support the film community and keep it alive, and also the philosophy of film and inspiring people to slow down. Did you have other questions? Yeah,
and then street art.
I know, we actually have a lot, so I don't want to make this interview too long. But so after film notes, our last pocket edition so far is Street Hunt, which we created in our friend Simon and Lisa's kitchen table while we were in London.
Shout out to Simon, Lisa, and Ezra.
Super cold London. And this was created together with Annette Kim, who's Eric's sister, very talented illustrator, designer, artist as well. So she drew all the illustrations. Oh yeah, here's one. So Eric, is it me holding? Yeah, I'm holding the heart. There's Anna or Annette. And we wanted to create, essentially it started off a little bit of a new updated version of Street Notes, but more in this playful way. This was, January 2018. So we were okay, let's, we love scavenger hunts. We love running around and finding and discovering things. And maybe Street Notes was more conceptual in terms of its challenges. So we just liked the idea of going around on a playful hunt. And we organized it by places and people and different places that one can go. And for me, I think the best way of learning is to make it playful and fun. And I mean, even though I'm in the academy, I think when people think of learning, it's like very traditional lecture based. But I think, especially when it comes to learning, like having fun is the most important. So it doesn't really matter where you are. You can kind of either go on little street hunts and challenge yourself. From if you're in the home, you can take photos in new ways. Yeah, so we're super proud of Street Hunts, as it was also the first one we printed in color, and again printed in our local printer, pocket sized. So Haptic Press is like looking at all of them together is
so beautiful, huh?
Yeah, because as you know, we've been kind of living nomadically for a while. This is still our home base, but maybe we spend about 3/4 of the year abroad. We come back for a few weeks to months back here. So when we see everything together, it's like, wow, this is the manifestation of all of our hard work and ideas and curiosities, and it's really meaningful in that way.
So one question I have for you is, what misconceptions do people have about Haptic, about Cindy, Eric, what we do, our life, whatever?
So, I think maybe one misconception about Haptic is that maybe sometimes people forget that it's about us too. Like, Haptic is a creative collaboration between us humans and me and Eric, but also of course like our creative collaborators Lan and Nguyen in Saigon. When we're on the road, my benevolent, sweet younger sister Jennifer helps to package and ship the materials. My mom also used to help. She's in the kitchen there. And it's I think the difficulty is it's a human based centered creative collaboration, and maybe sometimes people might forget that, but on that note, like, we so deeply appreciate all of your support, because from even just visiting the blog, telling your other friends about the blog and referencing it. I know that some people have used it in their photography classes, talked about Haptic, or purchased some of our goods that we ship through Amazon. Like, all of that really just continues to support us in our creative work, and that is just so meaningful to have that support. And maybe because support is like two things. Support is believing in what somebody else is doing. Like, you can support, like, I support Eric because I really believe in what he does, and even though sometimes it seems like so out of the ordinary, but I'm like, I believe in his ultimate mission about spreading photography knowledge, also challenging notions of kind of misconceptions about entrepreneurship or philosophy, about life. So I believe in him. So I support him in that way. But the other side of support is like action oriented. So I support him through giving him time to like do his creative, what did they call it? What did Carl call it? Guerrilla walking tactics, like vlogs that he's like talking this from, like, what's going on? Don't get hit by a car. Like, so I support him that way, but I also, help in his editing or writing sometimes when we're publishing together. And for all of you out there who have supported us in Haptic, you support us by like following and believing our mission, but also through your purchases and support. So that really is so meaningful, because you basically put your hard-earned money to supporting us to continue to create, and thank you so much for that.
Can you also tell us your childhood dream of starting your box company? Okay. Everyone likes hearing about your box company dream.
So Eric was asking, like, so what are your goals for Haptic and stuff? I was like, honestly, I don't care about what we sell. I just want to have more chances so I can package and ship boxes out. And I really, Eric's like, oh, where should we be? I was like, oh, can we just like go home so I'll be next to my inventory so I can package the stuff? Because I, as a kid, I was a middle child, so shout out to all middle children out there, is that I was alone a lot.
Oh no.
That's okay. I mean, so I think I lived in my own world of dreams and kind of creative ideas, and I loved at like pretty much, I think at 2:30, 3 p.m. every day, the mailman came and he would like deliver packages, mail, and all that stuff, and I loved receiving things. I even signed up to like for spam catalogs and all that so I can receive mail. And I loved it, and I loved like mailing things out and all that. So I was like, wow. As a kid, I was like, if I one day can create some type of company or be in charge of sharing that joy of mailing things, and so that others can receive this mystery box, letter, or something, like I think I would make a superb mailman. Everything that we make is like very intentional in terms of our packaging. So this I'm shipping to Pongvi in Paris. So I source packaging locally, hand stamp all these little notes that we have for Haptic Industries. And I designed this, actually. She's super talented. Mm-hmm. I hand stamp all these. I cut these down. I write a little note.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah. So
why do you do that?
Because I think it is sweet. It's human. It reminds people that I think maybe one of the plights of modern society is people feeling disconnected, especially even like the fact is if you order online, you don't get to go into a shop and talk to a salesperson or interact with other customers. So I still have this like human touch of know that like I package these individually and
so you actually hand package all these?
Yeah, so and right now I'm like wrapping it a little bit more like holiday festivities. So everything we do is super intentional. This is probably our most playful product. I mean,
what
it's
is
not
that?
done. So this is the Fukuro box.
Uh-huh.
So I won't tell you what's inside, but you can kind of peek a little bit of how I packaged it. So this was to ring in the new year, inspired by Japanese mystery or surprise bags. So we basically have a surprise jumble of different types of our favorite products in here, and then it was on sale for pretty big reduction, but it was more of like a way to just spread excitement and good luck for the new year. So that's our most fun one, and everything we do we think about like a lot. Like from our cafe talks to pillow talks, and like Eric and I are still like, is that too weird? Would anyone like really want to get a mystery box? But I'm like, yeah, let's just try it.
Are you the only couple who probably talks about business in bed for pillow talk?
Yeah, but I think, probably, I don't know, maybe. But I think what's fun about it is Eric's like the creative, brazen one, and I'm like the practical, maybe slightly worried one. I'm like, oh, I don't know, does anyone want to buy it, or will the people think it's weird, or there's so much. And then I handle all the logistics, so I'm like, okay, it's gonna take a lot of time. I have to like package everything and all that stuff. But Eric's like, let's just do it and see what happens. So we work off of each other's energy quite a lot in that way.
For people who want to start their own haptic industries or start their own entrepreneurial ventures, because you studied history, you didn't quote-unquote formally study business or entrepreneurship, what advice or tips or practical wisdom would you give to our fellow entrepreneurs out there?
So in terms of business or about selling products?
Business, selling products, and maybe even personal things about courage, because I think honestly most of entrepreneurship is courage, because even though everyone on the internet loves you and hates me, still like it's kind of scary to like people leaving these negative comments or feedback, whatever. So what kind of advice would you give peoples?
So I think the big one is to try to keep it fun and playful, and I think the word play is a little bit these days like associated with this passive play, like, oh, kids play or you play video games, like, but I think what's fun about play, the best type of play I think is ones that it's a type of play that needs to be a little bit challenging. So it needs to be challenging, difficult at times, but different, and like have all these different, like for me what's challenging about Haptic is that like thinking about like the logistics of it, like where are we going to print it, how are we going to design it, but also like the other challenge is thinking really big, like what is the purpose of this? Are we just creating another thing of which in this super capitalist society that people just kind of like buy and throw away? Like no, like we want to create something super meaningful, that people can share with other people, that people learn from, that is usable and like disrupts or differentiates from other things. So the balance of like the logistical challenge of like creating the thing, which is extremely difficult, but also the other challenge, which is does this fulfill our bigger mission about creating meaningful products and creating things of which are more like creative tools, not just toys. And I think having a tool is a more fun type of play, is that like you can do something with it. You can build a house, you can like with the film notes you can create, or a photo journal, you can like create a different type of photo project on your family. Even like we had a few very like experimental products of which took a lot of time, and I think not being suckered into like, oh, it's only a successful product if it sells a bunch or a bunch of people use it. It's like, no, actually, like, do we really believe in the product or the thing, and is it fulfilling our mission? So like for example, like my first photography book is probably one of the projects that took just the longest, because like Anna hand illustrated everything. So I mean, I wrote the storyline. Eric and I actually like late one night were creating up with the rhymes, and they turned into raps, so that was pretty fun. And for us, this was like, hey, we're going to change the way that kids and our next generation think about the world and technology, and how phones and photography or capturing images through camera phones or whatnot can help to make that change. So this was so much of like I mean, it was extremely stressful, but it was like a creative, meaningful project that we're like, okay, we're going to create it. I don't know if it's going to sell, but I am so proud that we did it, because we are contributing to making a ripple into this wave of like changing the next generation, how they think about images, about the world around them, and how awesome it is. Like, and I love that. Like, we can make things of which are all inspiring and make people feel, or inspire people to feel gratitude about the world around them.
Thank you so much for your time, Cindy. Thank you so much for everything you've done for Haptic. None of this would have been possible without you. And Cindy, CEO of Haptic.
Also, we're going to be doing a few more interviews. If you guys have any questions about what we do, about Haptic, or and our creative collaborations, leave them below. I'm a little bit scared of this question.
Be kind, like Ellen DeGeneres says.
Oh yeah. So thank you again. Thanks, Eric, for interviewing, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's.